All right. I got to get used to the reverb here. I'm going to come up extra close and make them both uncomfortable. First off, congratulations, you guys. I know it's been a long time. I know David's family, from me, we never thought someone would finally catch you. So, congratulations. To the parents, I mean, from my own experience in having two kids, I realize it's much more difficult to raise good kids than I ever thought that it would be. So for you guys, just amazing job on producing these two. I'm sure they'll continue to do the same down the road. So very nice work. I have a speech I wrote down also. I usually make stuff up, but I wanted to be more honest than usual, so I figured I'd put it on paper so I couldn't deviate too much. So, a few stories about David. You know, usually these are kind of, you go with either the inspirational route or the embarrassing route, and I couldn't decide, so I just tried to run it kind of right up the middle. Didn't want him to get away, but still wanted to feel like it was something that held value. So, I actually met David, I think we were 10 years old in the 5th grade, and his parents did a lot of building and moving, and they got to landing out by where we live, out in the sticks. So it was pretty neat. Finally had someone my age that lived within like 5 miles of where I was at. It was pretty neat. His whole family has treated me like part of theirs since that time. I don't know that they really had a choice. But just kind of ended up there constantly. So it's been great. Just a few stories from the past. David's taught me a lot of lessons. I'll share a few of the physics lessons that we went through, you know, as kids. Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So when we were kids, we were riding bikes. We used to ride bikes all the time. And one day we're riding down the road and David said, "Hey, what do you think would happen if we were going fast?" And I just took my foot and jammed it in my front spokes. Said, "I think it'd probably hurt your foot." He said, "I bet it wouldn't." In went the foot, right? We were moving along pretty good. Well, the bike stopped, went completely over forwards, and it pitched David down the street, and he went sliding to a stop. That was my first lesson in physics from David. An object set in motion tends to stay in motion. So we went on to prove a few more of Isaac Newton's laws. One day he called me and he said, "Hey, I found out this really cool thing. My dad's got a bunch of old spray cans, and if you hit them right in the center with a shovel, they explode and they fly in 2 different directions." So he called me and he goes, "Hey, come check this out." So I go down there. At this point, he had already run out of all the empty spray cans. So he went over to his dad's truck and found a full WD-40 can and put it on the ground. And he goes, "Watch this," right? Chop that sucker in half. Half the spray can hit me, and I got completely soaked in WD-40 standing there next to him. Some of you guys probably know the next lesson. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It took a long time to wash that off, by the way. So last one, we used to ride our bikes a lot. There was some neighbor kids that would ride their bikes a lot too. Some of them had a little bit more money than others, and one day we wound up in a driveway with a bunch of kids. We had the pretty much scrounged from the barn bicycle that we had pieced together from whatever we could find. A few of the kids had some pretty nice stuff. We didn't know any better, and David came up with this great idea that we should have a destruction derby in the driveway with all the bicycles. So I said, "Sure, sounds like fun." So we started going at it. David was the smallest guy in the group. Everyone else was either larger or older than him, and he figured out that the only way to cause some serious damage was to go much faster. At the end of it, he ended up destroying some very expensive bicycles that belonged to neighbor kids that didn't know any better, and their parents weren't too thrilled with it. That was the day that we learned that the greater the mass of an object, the greater the force needed to accelerate it. All right, so this is the serious part. So I've been to quite a few weddings where they like to talk about the symbol of the ring. Perfect circle, right? Never ending. You guys have probably all heard it. It's pretty cliche, so I'm not going to go through it tonight. But there is another object that means a lot to me. I'm a big fan of food. By the way, the food was delicious tonight. I don't know what totally it doesn't feel like a part of the cow, but it was delicious. The salmon was very good. So I'll show you guys an object that is a perfect circle with no ending. This is not just a regular frying pan, this is a cast iron frying pan. The only thing that I like to cook in, but I like to compare this cast iron pan, just like you would a ring, to a relationship in more than one way. Alright, so there's a lot of different kinds of pans out there. There's a lot of different kinds of people out there. As we go through our life, we learn what works for us and we learn what doesn't. So congratulations on finding what does work for you. There's other things out there. There's Teflon, I learned at some point, that causes cancer when you scratch it up and eat it. Highly recommend throwing your Teflon pans away. Ceramic, very expensive, chips quickly. Father-in-laws destroy them fast with metal utensils. I will never buy one of those again. Stainless, it looks pretty, looks cool, looks nice in your kitchen. Everything sticks to it, it doesn't season. Throw the stainless away. Actually recycle it, it's worth a lot of money by the pound. Aluminum, we all know what happens to aluminum. Bends, warps, makes us forget everything eventually, and shouldn't use it. But cast iron, there's nothing that a good seasoned cast iron pan won't cook that tastes well. Similar to a relationship, there's nothing more satisfying than having a good, strong marriage that you can enjoy for years and years. There's no type of relationship or type of pan that will give you more years of enjoyment. Cast iron will overpower and sometimes destroy everything in your sink. For anyone that's ever used cast iron and tried to wash it, you've probably broken plates, you've probably smashed glasses on accident. Just like that, there's other things in your life that will try to consume the time that you have. Work, events, kids, all kinds of things pop up and will sneak up on you. But knowing the strength and weight that your relationship has will help you to carry through anything that you guys need to endure. Don't let those glasses get in the way. The pan's always more important. Cast iron will rust if you don't take care of it. We've all learned this sometimes frequently. Anyway, even if your cast iron pan rusts, you can always fix it. You can slow down, spend the time, season it, bring it back to life. And sometimes in relationships, you get kind of complacent with where you're at and you stop and you don't realize that you haven't put in the time you need into it to make it as good as it can be. Just like cast, you can spend the time on your relationship and bring it back if you realize that you're having challenges. Lastly, cast is strong and Karina, in a pinch, you can use it to knock out an intruder. My hand's starting to shake. This thing is heavy. Never forget that working together, nothing is more powerful than you guys doing everything as a couple, doing things as one, making decisions as one in your relationship. If you do that, you'll realize that your relationship is as strong as cast compared to everything else, and you'll have a great life. And just for the record, I just want you to know that I'm going to go ahead and allow you to borrow my best friend for life. And every time you guys cook on this cast iron skillet, I want you to think about the things that I talked about. Thank you guys.